All right, it is time to do a build guide for one of my favorite characters in the series. Hoshina is an insanely good character in the Kaiju number 8 game if you build him correctly. So we're going to start by talking about the weapon options you have for him. Then we'll go through the Unipart set that you want to equip on him, whether or not you should ascend him to 2 dupes, 3 dupes, 4 dupes, 6 dupes, so on and so forth, what skills you want to upgrade first, and then last but not least, a potential team you might want to put him on. Okay, so starting with the weapons, obviously the banner weapon that you're able to pull for him is going to be your best weapon. That is the case with pretty much every 5-star unit in the game. The banner weapon is going to be the best weapon. Keep in mind, percentages that I show you in this video may differ depending on where you have your weapon ascended to, so what I show you here may not necessarily be what you see on your screen. So for the SW2033, it's going to give you a speed plus 25% boost. A speed boost is always good. And then after the equipped unit activates normal attack or combat skill, if a critical hit occurs, apply damage dealt plus 15% for 2 turns to the equipped unit. Before the equipped unit activates an AoE attack, applies a slash damage dealt plus 15% for 1 turn to the equipped unit. This is good because he does obviously have the AoE attack, and that extra 15% slash damage is going to allow you to go crazy when you're getting the crits and the extra crit damage from the rest of his kit. So this is a very, very good weapon to have equipped on him. Now your 4-star option, or your more free-to-play friendly option, I won't say it's completely free to play because you do still have to pull it, but you're more likely to pull a 4-star than you are to pull a 5-star weapon. This weapon is called the SW Crow 93. It's going to give you a attack boost of 28%, so I would prefer the speed boost over the attack boost, generally speaking, and then the equipped unit's ultimate damage gets an additional 21%. The reason this isn't as good is because I would rather have the additional damage on the AoE actually over his ultimate, because his ultimate is only a single target attack. That being said, it's still not a bad option when you consider your other option is a 3-star weapon that doesn't have any additional effects. So as far as your more free-to-play friendly options go, that is going to be the option for you. Now, besides these 2 weapons, there are 2 other 5-star weapons you can equip on this character. One of them is earnable in game, and the other one you are going to have to pay for. Okay, so the earnable one is going to be under the Proof of Valor menu. I've shown this menu for many of the other build guides for characters, and you're going to be limited on which one you can pick, right? So pick wisely. If you happen to want his, here's what Hoshina's weapon does. SW Takiminakata, hopefully I'm saying that correctly. Before the equipped unit activates ultimate, applies attack plus 21% for 3 turns to the equipped unit. So this one's okay because, like, yes, it buffs the ultimate, but then it also buffs him for 2 more turns afterwards where you can potentially use AoEs. So that buff isn't just for the ultimate, it's really for the other skills as well. And then when the equipped unit's remaining HP is 80% or more, the equipped unit's damage dealt plus 12%. So just a permanent plus 12% damage if you're able to stay above 80% HP, which, if you know what you're doing, is not too hard to do. And honestly, where you're going to be using this character more is against small kaiju to help clear them out quickly. So a lot of times in the battles that you're taking on with this character, he shouldn't really be dropping below 80% HP all too often, meaning you're able to just permanently get that 12% extra damage. So this is a decent choice overall. I would still say the banner weapon is going to be the better way to go out of the 2 there. And then if you buy the Defense Force Pass at level 30, you are able to choose a 5-star weapon. So out of these 5-star weapons, right, I did do a video where I talked about which one was probably the most important to get. I'll just spoil it now for you. It is going to be the AR for Reno. Also, ARs are good on a lot of other characters in the game, so probably the best weapon to get realistically. But if you do want to get Hoshina's weapon, here is what it is called, the SW Ameno Torifune. And so what this one's going to do, I actually really kind of rate this one, I'm not going to lie. I might like this one more than I like the banner one in a way. But if you're able to fully max it out, which it is important to know, it's going to take you a while to be able to max it out, because it seems like you can only get one of these from the Defense Force Pass each time the Defense Force Pass is around. And I don't know if they're going to give us another way to get these weapons besides the pass. So it's going to take you a while to be able to fully max it and ascend it to stage 4. But assuming you're able to ascend it to stage 4, here's what you're going to get. Crit damage plus 52%. That is insane. Even without the rest of the effect, that is going to let Hoshina hit so much harder. And then after the equipped unit attacks a core exposed kaiju, applies damage dealt plus 16% for 3 turns to the equipped unit. So this is the one part, like, I like the base effect more than I like the speed on the other 5-star weapon. However, this effect right here leaves me wanting a little bit more, because you have to attack a core exposed kaiju, and then you only get the damage dealt for 3 turns after that. So I feel like you're not going to have the damage buff up as much as some of the other weapons that are available. So, you know, take that how you will, but I still think for that reason, the banner 5-star weapon is going to be the best choice of them all. Not that that one's bad. I would say the shop one and the defense pass one are honestly about the same. So if you don't have Hoshina's main weapon, those are still really good options to go for overall. Now, as for the Unipart sets, this guy's clearly a crit character, right? If you haven't figured that out yet, he's very much a crit character. So you're going to go for the fungal set, which is going to give him crit. So it's going to give attack plus 28%. Once again, percentages could be different than what you see, right? And crit damage plus 32%. Before the equipped unit activates ultimate, applies damage dealt plus 15% to the equipped unit, right? So overall, if you can get extra crit damage for this character, it's going to allow him to just pop off, okay? Now, Ascension, is he worth ascending? So let's start with dupe 1. When attacking a kaiju that has 50% or less remaining HP, this unit's crit damage plus 20%. Getting him one dupe, absolutely worth it if you've seen everything else about crit so far between the weapon and the Uniparts, right? Definitely worth it to at least dupe him out to 1. Dupe 2 gives him slash damage. Slash damage is going to be good for his AoE. I mean, it's decent, that extra 15% damage. I wouldn't say it's anything too crazy. I actually prefer personally the crit damage over the slash damage, but the slash damage is still good. And then if you get to dupe 3 and dupe 5, always have like these same effects, but dupe 3, normal attack and combat skill level +2, max level +2. At dupe 4, after activating ultimate, applies ultimate gauge charge rate plus 20% for 2 turns to this unit. I really like this. This means it's going to allow you to ult more, which is fantastic. It honestly is probably going to change the way you use this character by the time you get to this dupe, because primarily you're normally going to be focusing on the AoEs. Now you're going to be able to do a few more ultimates here and there, maybe allowing you to take on some bigger bosses rather than small units. And then at dupe 5, it's going to give you ultimate, passive skill, and follow-up skill, level +2 and max level +2. And then at dupe 6, while in fierce state, this unit's defense penetration rate is plus 25%. So that's actually broken because he has crit rate, crit damage, and he's already going to be doing a massive amount of attack. But then you add in defense penetration on top of that, and this guy can go absolutely nuts. So in terms of where do I think you should get him ascended to, I think it's dupe 1 minimum realistically. I think dupe 1 is a good place to like call it good because you're able to get the extra crit damage buff, and that crit damage buff is very, very nice. Now, if you want, you can go for dupe 6. Like getting him dupe 6 is obviously always going to be insane. I think the defense penetration is insane, but I really wish the defense penetration was on like dupe 2 and then we could just stop at dupe 2 and call it a day. But unfortunately, like one of the best buffs that he gets is at the very end, which makes sense. Smart for them to do, right? So I would go dupe 1 or dupe 6. If you really want, you can go dupe 2, but I wouldn't stop at dupe 3, dupe 4, dupe 5. I don't think any of those are really worth stopping at. So it's either go for dupe 1, go for dupe 2, or go for dupe 6. If you're thinking about duping out this character, I think that's where you should aim for, generally one of those spots. And then as for his skills, we'll start with the additional passives that you get for leveling him up, and then we'll get into the normal attack, combat skill, ultimate, and I'll tell you which of these skills I think you should upgrade to level 10 first. So starting with his level 40 passive, Miniature Kaiju Specialist. When attacking miniature class kaiju, this unit gains an additional 15% damage. Super speed. After activating ultimate, apply speed plus 15% for 1 turn to this unit. That's the level 60 passive, and then the level 80 passive. At the start of battle, applies fierce. That is the same as the passive skill to this character. That's really good because you're able to get extra crit rate and damage. Is it crit rate and damage or crit damage? It's extra crit rate and crit damage. Yeah, you're able to get extra crit rate and crit damage right from the start of battle. So that's actually a really good buff. So when you get him to level 80, he becomes way more insane. His skill 1 or normal attack is going to be wild slashes. Deal slash damage equal to 55% of this unit's attack to a single kaiju. Honestly, not the greatest. It's a basic attack just like anybody else. Then you have his combat skill double attack. Deal slash damage equal to 64% of this unit's attack to all kaiju. That is really good because it's an AoE. With slash damage, it's going to do quite a bit. It doesn't look very good on its own, I'll admit. But when you start thinking about him doing AoE with extra crit damage and crit rate, he starts to look a lot better. His ultimate, Hoshino style sword slay technique number 6, 8-fold slasher. This attacks crit rate plus 16%, deals slash damage equal to 224% of this unit's attack to a single kaiju. While in Fierce State, advances this unit's next action order by 20%. So this is a pretty decent skill. It's going to be able to do a good amount of damage. The unfortunate part is the crit rate's only for this skill, and the extra damage is only for this skill, so it doesn't buff him for later skills. But the one good thing is the Fierce State is going to allow him to get his skill 2 probably like right after this. I mean, you're gonna ult, then you're gonna skill 2, and you'll be able to get in a good amount of damage. So the ultimate's still pretty decent overall. My biggest problem with it is just it's a single target attack, right? His follow-up skill deals slash damage equal to 66% of this unit's attack to a single kaiju. Not the greatest, it just is what it is. And then last but not least, we have his passive skill. After defeating a kaiju, applies attack plus 11% for 2 turns to this unit. That's kind of meh, but I mean, when you consider he's doing AoEs all the time, he should be defeating a majority of the kaiju if you're taking on small kaiju battles, so it's better than you would think. After activating combat skills, applies fierce to this unit. What does fierce do? This is my favorite part. This unit's crit rate plus 11% and crit damage plus 16%. After activating normal attack, fierce will be removed, so keep that in mind. Be careful with using your normal attack because it will remove fierce. But if you enhance this skill, it is going to be increasing your crit rate and crit damage. So if just going from level 1 to level 2, you go from 11% crit rate to 12% crit rate, 16% crit damage to 17% crit damage. So I do think out of all the skills, the passive skill is the #1 thing you want to upgrade, because the more crit rate and crit damage you can get him, the better it's going to be for your skill 2 when you're trying to AoE enemies. So upgrade priority is definitely going to be upgrade your passive first, then upgrade your skill 2, because he's just going to be a character that does AoEs and kind of wipes enemy teams, then upgrade your ultimate, then upgrade your skill 1, and last but not least, upgrade your follow-up attack. Actually, you might not even want to upgrade your skill 1 because you want to try to not use it as much as possible. You might want to upgrade your follow-up attack before you upgrade your skill 1. So I'll leave that one up to you. It really doesn't matter if you do skill 1 or follow-up attack first, but the first 3 do matter. I would go with passive, skill 2, ultimate, and that is the upgrade order for Hoshino's skills. Now let me show you guys a potential team for him. As I have said in previous videos, whenever it comes to these team builds, right? These are not the be-all, end-all. Just because I show you this team doesn't mean you have to run this team. It doesn't mean this is the only team he is good on, right? You could run Hoshino with other characters. You could run him with 4-star characters who are going to be able to buff him and stuff like that. But in general, this team is going to be good because they have a lot of AoEs, they have a lot of damage, they have a lot of attack. You have the slash damage, the range damage. You have Isao here for the blunt damage, and he's also going to be able to provide barriers to your team. This team is going to clear stuff very fast. It's a small kaiju team. Very, very solid option for anybody thinking about trying to just get through content in the game quickly. This is probably one of the teams you would want to use. So this is just an idea. Once again, you can switch characters as needed, but hopefully that gives you guys a place to start. If you did enjoy the video, please consider going down there, hitting that like button, hitting that subscribe button, and thank you guys so much for watching and supporting the channel. Peace.